At Gordon & Partners, we've been helping Floridians recover physically and emotionally after accidents for over 30 years. The time for your free case review is now, so visit fortheinjured.com or call 561-333-3333. From distracted driving to faulty vehicles, auto accidents can occur for countless reasons. Let us take care of everything, including your car. And remember, we don't get paid unless you do. Gordon & Partners, fortheinjured.com. Main offices, Palm Beach Gardens.
We are audiostack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad. How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
Go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
Do you worry about your elderly parent who is living alone? Are you constantly concerned about their safety and well-being when you can't be there? In this episode, you'll learn about an innovative, low-tech product called I Am Fine that can provide peace of mind for caregivers just like you. We dive into the story behind the groundbreaking solution and how it can help you monitor your loved ones' daily activities, ensuring they're safe and independent. Keep listening to discover a game changer for those caring for elderly parents. Be sure to share this episode with your friends and neighbors because this solution is too good to keep a secret. Fading Memories, a podcast for caregivers of loved ones with dementia. I'm your host, Jennifer Fink. My mom had Alzheimer's for 20 years, and when I went looking for answers, I had to start a podcast to find them. Join me as we navigate the challenges of dementia caregiving together. Let's share our experiences, find solace, and discover the strength within us. Get ready to embark on a transformative caregiving journey with Fading Memories. Are you looking for additional advice, a recap on the week's episode, some suggestions on what to watch or listen to next, or a simple way to communicate with me? Then you definitely need to sign up for the email newsletter. It's a quick, less than 5-minute read, and the link to do that is in the show notes or on our website. Did you know that midlife metabolic changes can impact your brain health? Women often experience changes in energy regulation during midlife, feeling fatigued or having reduced energy. In addition to eating a Mediterranean diet, exercise, and stress management, one way to protect your brain health is to add Relevate from NeuroReserve to your day. With Relevate, you get science-backed nutrition to help strengthen and protect your memory and cognitive performance today and for years to come. You deserve a brain span that lasts your lifespan, and to help you get started, use the link in the show notes and code FM15 to get 15% off any regular order. I've been taking Relevate for 3 years now, and I've seen an improvement in my memory and thinking. Now, on with our show. Welcome back, listeners. You know that I love featuring caregivers turned creatives. And with me today is Paul Hammond. He is exactly that kind of person. He and his brother created something to help them care for their mom, and it turned out to be something that a lot of us need. So thanks for joining me, Paul.
It's an absolute pleasure, and thank you for having me on your podcast, Jennifer.
You're welcome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you created and why we all should consider it?
Of course. About 2011, my brother and I were visiting my mom. At the time, she was about 90, she was about 88 at the time. And she lives alone in Florida. My brother lives in the UK. I live in California. And Mom was asking that we call her every single day. Now, we're good kids, but to call her every single day, that was pushing the ability for us to do that. We're both in high tech, and my brother came up with this idea. He said, Paul, you know about telephones and telecom. You've been doing that for years and years. Why don't we automate this? Why don't we figure out how to get an automated call so that Mom can answer it, and then it will tell us that she's okay? Well, my mom heard this, and you never say no to my mother. And she says, wonderful. 2 weeks? Can I have it by then?
Oh, Lord.
Maybe 3? So Colin canceled his flight back to the UK. I canceled my flight back to California, and we turned her living room into a war room. And we sat there, and in 2 weeks, we basically wrote an application that does exactly this. And we did it for my mom. So it's an awful lot of work for my mom, but she's worth it. And my mom was so happy with this that she went off and told all her friends. And so now I got Mary, and I've got Jane, and I've got all of our friends wanting this. So we reassembled, and we said, there's a lot of value to this. It's actually a really useful product to help people age in place and to give them the peace of mind that they know that a regular phone call is coming and the people who care about them will be informed if they answer it. But more importantly, if they miss that call. And so we sat there and we took what we built for my mom and we turned it into a company, and we call that company I Am Fun. Since that start, we've now delivered over 3 million wellness calls. The company's just grown and grown and grown, predominantly through word of mouth and through educational podcasts such as this. And we've gone from providing it directly to consumers to also providing it to independent living facilities as well. So it's an amazing journey, one of great pride, and one that we can thank my mom and her insistence on us building it.
And I Am Fine is not an app, because I know a lot of people are not comfortable using apps. Older adults are not necessarily as tech savvy as some of us, like yourself. I'm not feeling tech savvy this week because my computer decided to be a pain in the rump. But, so it's not an app, which is kind of a key factor. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So you're right. You don't need a smartphone. It's not an app. The only thing you need is a phone. And that could be, it could be a voice over IP phone. It could be your cell phone. It could be a landline. It could even be one of the landlines that's got the wire that connects the phone to the wall. People still have them. Our system works off the caller ID. So when you call in to our service, we'll pick up your caller ID, and that's how we associate it with you. So we'll know that you've checked in based off the caller ID. Now, if you have a smartphone where you can text, you can also text the word OK to check in on a daily basis. And the key is that when you miss your call, our system will call you, and then we'll call you about 10 minutes apart for the next hour. At the end of that hour, that's when we say, okay, we tried our best to call, to reach Jennifer in this case. We can't do that. And you would have given us a list of people in advance that you'd like us to notify in case we can't get hold of you. We call that the care circle. And so an hour after you've missed your call, we've tried to call you 5 more times, and you still haven't answered, we then send an alert to your care circle. And they get to choose how to receive that. Some people like it through a text, some people like an email, some people like a phone call. Whatever way you want to be alerted, we follow your request, and the alert goes out. And it will say, we've tried, Jennifer's check-in time is at 11 o'clock in the morning. She missed her call. We've called her 5 more times. It's now 12 o'clock. We haven't been able to reach her. Please check up on Jennifer. So we're not an emergency service. We won't call the ambulance. We won't call the police. We will call your friends and your neighbors, though.
Which is a good first step. We don't need to go into instant panic mode. I'm sure people get pretty nervous when they get that alert that their loved one hasn't checked in, but we don't need to escalate to 911 quite yet, hopefully. Hopefully that's not what they need. I'm sure you have some interesting stories about how this service has helped somebody. Maybe their loved one didn't check in and it was a positive outcome because of the service.
We've got lots of stories. So we've been going for a little over 11 years. We actually have 5 or 6 customers who've been with us since we started back in 2011. To answer your question, we had a gentleman who lived in Florida. He was a diabetic. And so he lived alone. He was in his late 70s, early 80s. And he had one of the pendants. But he felt that wasn't enough. He was diabetic, and he was concerned that something might happen to him and he wouldn't be able to use his pendant. And in fact, that's exactly what happened. He changed his diet, and it didn't agree with him. He fell into a diabetic coma before he could press his button, and he missed his I am fine call at 9 o'clock the next morning. We tried calling him. The system escalated, reached out to his neighbors. They went round, did a wellness call, and found him, got him to hospital. And we're told that that actually was a life-saving event, because if he hadn't have reached the hospital in time, he probably wouldn't have made it. So providing that level of peace of mind for people, as well as providing a service which really can kick in and help, has been an amazing journey for my brother and myself. We're so honored to have been able to provide our service and to have built it. I've been in high tech for an awful long time, since the early 80s. And I have to tell you, this is the most meaningful thing I've ever done. It's really helps people. And in so doing, it's what I'd like to be remembered for.
Well, it's definitely a needed service. So you said that you've moved into the senior living communities. How is the service being used specifically? Are the communities buying into it, or how is that transition happening?
Most senior living facilities have different levels of service. They'll start off with an independent living, then move to an assisted living, then probably to a memory care. The latter two typically have some form of daily contact with residents, so the service that we offer isn't really appropriate. But the independent living residents, that's where we've been working with a lot of independent living facilities. We have an organization out in Pennsylvania that's got 300 apartments. And they, prior to using us, they would actually send one of their security team around every morning, knock on the door, make sure everybody's okay. That takes a long time. And it's not exactly accurate. Somebody might be out shopping. They might be in the yard. They might be unavailable for any reason. And so they moved to using the I Am Fine service. And they instruct their residents to check in by 10 o'clock each morning. And the security team has a web portal that we provide that shows the check-in status of every one of the residents. So by 10 o'clock, most of the residents have checked in. By 10:30, they can view who hasn't checked in. We tried to call each one of those folks, or in the process of calling them. And then the security team can go and make, it's usually one or two checkup safety calls each day. It benefits both sides. It benefits the residents. They know that without a very intrusive product, this is providing the security team the ability to make sure that they're okay. And for the security team, it's clearly a operational efficiency tool. It allows them to check in on 300 people literally in under 10 minutes.
Which is probably important if there is an emergency or there is some other situation that they need to be dealing with. And, now they haven't checked in on people, but somebody else can check the list to make sure that, like you mentioned, the gentleman that was in a diabetic coma, that they're not having those kind of issues, are not going left untreated because there's some other issues. There's always issues.
There's always issues. And, sadly, none of us are going to actually just stop that there. Edit that part out. I was going to say something I don't want to say. Yeah.
No, it's true. None of us live forever. So
that's where I was going. None of us live forever. And so it's never a good situation when somebody passes away and nobody knows about it, especially if you're in an independent living facility where there's supposed to be some level of community around you. That's bad press for the institution, and it doesn't make the residents feel good to know that somebody passed away and nobody knew for a few days. So actually that's another reason why a lot of these places have it, just to make sure that they're really providing a high level of care without being intrusive.
Yeah, I like the non-intrusive part because it doesn't matter what time the check-in is. I would either be getting out of the shower if somebody's knocking on the door, or currently, wet from my workout, or, just not in a state that I want to greet people in.
Exactly.
I try to present myself as, ready for the day and and raring to go. But, I had a neighbor knock on the door once, and we're in a private community, so that's really rare. It's like
Yeah.
there's a knock at the door, and you're almost like panicked because you're like, oh my God, what is that? And I was in the middle of getting dressed. I just finished working out, and it was probably close to 11. Work out, do some stuff, shower, dress, and I had to like throw on a bathrobe. And then she's standing there, it's cold. I'm like, oh my God. And she's bringing us nice treats. So it's like, ugh.
And then
I'm
you
like,
have to be, yeah.
I'm like,
You
could have you waited 15 minutes, maybe 20, because I think I had to dry my hair. But yeah, no matter what time I picked, it would not be convenient to more days than not.
Well, the nice thing about the I Am Fine service is you don't have anybody knocking on your door, and you set your check-in time. So for the individuals who are using it, some people are early birds. They'd like to use it as an alarm clock in a way where we call a certain time. Other people really don't want to get up early. So the beauty, you set what time you want to check in each day. If you want to check in at 7 in the morning, that's great. If you want to check in 11 o'clock in the morning, that's fine. You can also, for double the peace of mind, you can actually have a call in the morning and another one in the evening. So you could set it so that you check in twice a day.
Which would not necessarily be a bad thing, because it seems like you might start off the day great and then things go downhill. I mean, that could be for any of us for any number of reasons. Is it an automated? It's not a human that's calling, is it?
It's an automated phone call that comes through, but it is customized. So it will say, for yourself, it would say, "Hello, Jennifer. This is the I Am Fine service. Please press 1 to check in." And we ask when we make the phone call that you press the 1 key. And the reason for doing that is if your voicemail had picked the call up, we wouldn't know you're okay. But by pressing 1 on your phone pad, we know that it's you. We know that you've actually made somebody's at the other end of the line. So after you press 1, it says, "Thank you, Jennifer, for checking in. You may now hang up." And then we wait a couple of seconds, and then there's another feature that kicks in, and it says, "If you would like somebody from your care circle to contact you, please press 1 for," and then it goes through the names of the people. 1 for Paul, 2 for Colin, 3 for John. And if they press one of those numbers, it will then say thank you. And we will send a notification to that person in the care circle saying, "Jennifer just checked in, but she's also asked that you reach out to her."
I was going to ask if there was a human element, because back in 2011, when your mom's in her late 80s, when you said she asked you and your brother to call on a daily basis, I was assuming because she wanted that connection with you, not because she wanted to make sure she was still with us.
Well, she did want a connection with us, and we don't deprive her of that. I actually probably call her 2 or 3 times a week, but I'm not sure what time of day I'm going to call her and how it's going to work. So the idea was really to provide more of a daily check-in than for us to say hello and connect with her. There are services that you can pay to have a person call you each day and have a conversation. But that's a human, and the price points are substantially different. We've kept our price point exactly the same as when we started 11 years ago. And by automating everything, we're able to keep the cost as low as we possibly can so that it's a meaningful service at what we think is a very reasonable price.
Did you see an uptick on the use of the service during the pandemic and the shutdowns and all that glorious list we lived through?
So, yeah, 4 years ago, we actually thought that we would. But what transpired is we didn't, because so many people were no longer commuting. They were actually at home, and they were stuck at home. So it became even more relevant for them to pick up the phone and call their parents or pick up the phone and call their loved ones. So actually, there was more communication, regular communication between people during the pandemic than there typically is back to today, where the children of the folks living alone at home are living busy lives. We're out there, we're commuting to work again, and it's sometimes a little harder to schedule yourself to be disciplined to call your mom every single day or to call your loved one every single day. So that's where the I Am Fine service kicks back in. So if anything, we saw fewer signups during COVID.
Kind
Because
of a
people were
bummer.
looking
I
to
would think people who were commuting would use the commute time to make the call because you're probably doing it at the same time every day. You're in the car. It's generally private, even if you're on public transportation. You all have earbuds. I would think it would be easier to keep in contact because you've got that built-in schedule. And when we were all, see, I've worked from home since 2005, so my schedule is whatever I want.
Yeah.
But for people who are at home, now everything is just up in the air and they're juggling jobs and household chores and children trying to learn from online school. I can see lots of things slipping through the cracks. So that's kind of interesting to just hear about. People are fascinating.
Oh, they are. And you know, there's also a group of people who use our service that we didn't anticipate when we built it. And that's folks, again, who live alone at home of any age, but who have a pet.
Mm.
And they're concerned about what might happen to their pet if they were to get into an accident and they didn't go home that evening and nobody knew about it. So a lot of folks, probably about 30 or 40% of our users are people who have pets and use the service just to make sure that their friends or neighbors will be alerted and can go check up on the pets in case something happens to that person.
Yeah, 'cause if you're in
Yes,
an
we love our
accident,
pets.
yeah, I
Yes, we love our pets more than we love ourselves.
well, since my mom passed away 4 years ago, and we lost our younger of our two dogs in 2023, the beginning. The dog we have left basically spent the first 8.5 years of her life as part of a pack, either 2 or 3 dogs. And now she's an only. And I mean, I got to make sure that I'm getting her to the dog park as many days as possible. She's getting cognitive stimulation. The vet said, use the puzzle toys for her food. So she gets her dinner in the Kong every night. So yeah, my caregiving has gone from my mom to the dog. So maybe I need the service in case something happens, although totally digressing. I had just finished lunch and the neighbor called and she's like, "Oh, please tell me that everything's okay with your sweet baby." And I'm thinking, well, she's still sitting by the table begging on the off chance I'm bringing more food back to the table. Why? And so we live in an area with lots of deer and unfortunately a golden retriever tangled with a very old, mean buck and lost. I won't get too graphic, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that wasn't my dog, but it was traumatic. So my neighbors are really good about taking, we kind of watch out for each other, but I don't know that they would know if we were in an accident, end up in the hospital, and here's the dog being like, "Excuse me, who is coming to feed me?"
Right. And that's why people use the service for that reason, that exact reason.
That makes sense. Well, there is at least 2 of us in this household, so a little less need there. But do you have any thoughts of? So we've got the automated part. They can tell you that please have so and so to call me. Is there any expansion ideas that you're working on, or are you happy with?
Well, there's actually a feature that we haven't talked about, which might be of interest to some of your listeners who are caring for loved ones with dementia or failing memory. There's the ability to add a custom message when our call is delivered, and that custom message can be different each day. So it might, if you have to take out your garbage cans on a Tuesday, the message might be, "Hello, Jennifer, this is the I Am Fine service. Please press 1 to check in. Oh, thank you for checking in. It's Tuesday. Don't forget to take your garbage out to the street." And it could be used for any manner of message, and you can change the message so it's a unique, different message each day of the week. So that's actually for folks who may be struggling with memory issues. They'll get the call, they'll answer the phone, they'll press 1 to check in, and there may be a reminder. Go to the fridge, look at your list of things to do for the day, or whatever you would want to say to them to help give them the tools that would allow them to be able to age in place and live at home just that little bit longer.
Yeah, which is a really good option because we all know that, senior living communities are very expensive. They can be
Indeed.
wonderful, but they're very expensive, and it's the rare person who understands the benefits and says, "Yeah, when I get to a certain point, I'm going to move." Most people resist that idea, and you have to drag them out kicking and screaming.
Jennifer, my mom is now 98, and she will not go to she says, I'm going to live alone at home. It's my home. This is where I want to be. I love the service. I know that somebody will always check up on me. I don't want to move out unless I absolutely have to. And I think that's actually the goal of many people to live where they're comfortable, much more affordable typically, and in a place that you know, and you've got your neighbors, and change it when we get older is also hard. And so moving out from your house into another place is not the easiest of transitions. It does happen though. And I would say that going back to I Am Fine, look, we did some analysis a while back on our customer base, and the folks that cancel with us, over 92% of the people cancel are because they've either passed away or their living environment has changed. Somebody's moved in with them to take care of them, or they've moved into an assisted living facility. So this is a great tool, and it almost becomes, my mom is funny because she's there and she says, yep, I make it a goal that I'm going to check in every day before that thing calls me. I don't want to have it call me. I'm going to check in. So folks actually gamify it. And we've got some people who haven't missed a check-in for almost 4 years.
That's amazing.
365 days, and they haven't missed a check-in.
Now, let me ask a question about your mom. Is she kind of an introvert?
Far from it. No.
Oh.
My mom ran she was the headmistress of an international school in Portugal for 20 or 30 years. So she had a large number of kids who she was responsible for, and teachers. She played golf until she was about 94 years old. But even today, she's got her bridge group, her mahjong group, her walking group, and they have on her neighborhood in Florida where she lives, they have every month they do a sit and sit where the neighbors gather together with their chair and their bottle of wine and go from one house to another, and they have their little community events. And she's the leader of the pack.
Oh, fun. Well, that's why I was asking, because a lot of people want to stay home, but they don't have enough socialization, which I'm sure you're aware, and most of my listeners should be aware, is very bad for us cognitively. I am pretty much, I'm good. I like socializing, and then when my social battery is out, it's like, thank you very much, this has been nice, please leave, or I'm out of here. It's like, I can entertain myself. I don't need a lot of socialization, but we do as a species need it to maintain our health and our well-being. So that's why I was asking, because at 98, living on your own is amazing. It sounds like she's living very well.
Yeah, I'm just very grateful for the genetic genes that she's passing on to me. So, yeah.
Well, neither of my parents got to 78, but my goal is to live to 103 like my paternal grandmother. Ornery and stubborn runs on both sides of the family. So I got the fat gene from her side of the family, my paternal side, not from her, but that side of the family. So I feel like, okay, I have to deal with that. I better not have got the bad brain gene from mom's family. And I'm going to live to 103, which is 46 more years, which is a long time.
Yeah. And, medicine and tools will come along that will help make that an easier journey. So we'll be right there alongside you, rooting, especially when you get to 100. Keep going. I have, there's a friend of my mom's, who's 102, and he lives in an apartment in Manhattan. And he's a voracious traveler, and he one of his mantras is that you've got to stay active, both physically and mentally. And so he writes a blog. He travels and he writes his travel blog. And I'm just in such awe of the energy that he has. But he'll talk about how he has to push himself at times. And if you let yourself start to slip, it's really hard to recover. So the key is set yourself some real goals. Your brain is another muscle. Keep it exercised, and that's another way that we're going to, you're going to be able to achieve your goal, which is keep your mind and your body as healthy as possible.
And my paternal side of the family has lots of diabetes. So my paternal grandfather, my dad, both of his brothers, my dad and the middle brother are now gone. The younger brother, we just had the memorial for my uncle, and the younger brother, I said, is it weird to be the last man standing? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, you have to get past 78 because this is not cool. All these people dying at 77. That's not old enough. And he's like, and I can't remember if he said 80 or 82 or 3, but somewhere between 80 and 83. He's like, I got to get to X age because that's when I break even on Social Security.
Oh, I love it.
I was like, that's a goal. And that sounds like my family, something fierce. We are like frugal, very financially savvy. It's just, I was like, that's a way of thinking about it. But he's pretty active, but he inherited the diabetes and the high blood pressure and all those other things. Hopefully he's, doing the right things so that he can make it a few more years and break even on that Social Security. Maybe get ahead. Not just
assuming, of course, that it's going to be there in 10 or 15 years, which we keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, for real. It's like, hey, I've been paying into it. If you're better be there when I want it. So it's crazy. So do you have any last story about any client that you'd like to share before I let you go?
We had a very interesting client, once again, who was living alone, and she ran a horse farm out in the middle of Virginia. And she used our product, again, for the purpose of making sure that somebody would come up there and make sure that her equestrian stables were taken care of. I will point out one thing. We do have a lot of folks, again, with memory care, loved ones who've got memory care. And one of the things that we notice, and we've spoken to a lot of them, is that, as I was mentioning before, you can actually, as in the care circle, you can be notified when your loved one fails to check in. But the majority of people who are looking after family who have got cognitive or memory issues tend to have our system alert them when the person not only misses the call, but when they actually do check in. It's sort of a nice thing to know that, you get up and at 8 o'clock in the morning, you'll see the text. Oh, I won't use you because you don't have any cognitive issues, but, Aunt Mary checked in today. And you know that Aunt Mary, you're not going to be notified only when she misses it. You're actually notified when she checks in. And to many of us who are caring for people who may have some issues, it's actually it's a good start to the day for us to know that that person that we care about is actually okay. And you're not worrying about that person. I'm going to get on with the rest of my day.
Yeah, kind of as a fail safe too, in case, like we were talking about earlier, technology, when it works is great. When it fails us is so frustrating. So it is kind of a nice fail safe, but it also could prompt you to be like, I've got some extra time this morning, which I'm sure very few people ever say. But I'm gonna call Mary on my lunch break, or hey, I'm between meetings. I thought, I've got I got 15 minutes back on my schedule. I didn't think, let me call her and just kind of check in and have a nice little chat. Whereas if you don't have that little prompt, it doesn't pop to the forefront of your mind.
Right.
You might be in the background going, yeah, you should probably call her. And it's one of those should do's. And then, everything else takes precedent because it's right there screaming at you from the to-do list or the Slack notifications or whatever, however else people get harassed all the time.
And we're just pounded on these days by so many things. and a lot of spam calls come in as well. That's something that we have to help our customers usually is to whitelist our numbers so that it doesn't get blocked by the spam filters that they might have. If I could put my advertising hat on for 30 seconds.
Certainly.
Let your users know that we can be found at our website, which is iamfine.com. And we offer a trial, a free 2-week trial. You don't need to give us your credit card. All you do is you register with your name, your email, your phone number, and we'll give you the service absolutely for free for 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, it's your choice. You can either turn it off or you can subscribe. And the subscription is either $14.99 a month, or you can prepay and get a 30% discount and pay $120 for the year. We find
$10 a month is cheap.
It's $10 a month if you prepay, exactly. Yeah, and it's been that price since 2011, and we're going to do everything that we can to keep it that way. We're a small family-run company. We're not a large conglomerate, and our mission is to provide a meaningful service, and to have the subscriptions to pay for the service. But we're super happy with that as our mission statement. That's our goal.
That's amazing, and peace of mind is so well worth $10 to $15 a month. Mm-hmm. We unfortunately spend more money on almost everything else than that, and peace of mind is extremely important. And not having it app-based is very helpful. At some point, I guess our generation, I'm an older Gen X, will be app-friendly. What is it? Well, we'll be tech-savvy enough that it'll be normal, but that's not where we're at with our older adults at this point. So you guys did good. I'm visualizing the war room in Mom's living room while you built this thing in 2 weeks. That's pretty impressive.
Hey, we tore her room apart, and I'm not sure she loved us or hated us for it. We put whiteboards up on there, and I've been in high tech for years. My brother works in high tech, so for us it was almost as much of a challenge as anything. And we did that, and we had one of those little buttons, those red buttons that says "That's easy," and every time we do something, bam, we hit that. And we meet every year. We go back and we meet back in Florida, which is where our headquarters are, for a couple of weeks at a time, twice a year. And we trash our living room each time. We turn it into a war room, and working on the business and continuing to grow it and improve it. Awesome.
Well, I appreciate this. I'm really pleased to highlight another caregiver turned creator, because who better knows what we need than the people like us that are in the trenches, helping our older adults live a great life all the way to 103.
Indeed, or more.
I was saying, your mom sounds like she's going to get past 103.
Well, that's the goal, and you're an overachiever, Jennifer. So I'm sure that you'll just scoot right past that.
I don't know. 46 years is a long time.
Yeah, think of all the podcasts you'll get done between now.
Oh, Lordy. Well, this has been wonderful. I thank you very much. And as you guys know, the website is hot linked in the show notes. Just scroll down, put your finger on I think it's the text is blue, and it'll take you right there. You can, like Paul said, you can test it out for a couple weeks. And I'm pretty confident that after 2 weeks, you'll be like, here, please take my money. I love this.
Thank you again for the opportunity to chat with you, Jennifer, and to talk about our service and to share it with your listeners.
You're welcome. I create this podcast every week to be uplifting and informative. And what better way to end on a corny caregiver joke note? So here we go. Why did the family caregiver bring a shopping list? To remember which aisle their patience was on. Thanks for getting all the way to the end. And here's a taste of what's coming up next week.
So if I was going to, instead of making chicken paprikash, I could make tofu paprikash. Instead of saag paneer, I could use the spinach and use the tofu instead of the cheese, and use all those Indian spices. And there's this thing in the foodie world called a mashup, where you take food or food profiles or flavor profiles that you wouldn't normally find together, but can complement each other, and you put them together to come up with something really tasty. So I've gotten into that food mashup thing where, you wouldn't have tofu in paprikash, but you can now because she's not going to eat the chicken or the beef in it.
I'd love to hear from you with feedback, episode suggestions, just a hey there, thanks for recording this every week. The email is in the show notes. Send me a message. Thanks for listening today, and we'll be back in your ears again next Tuesday. Please support our sponsors, for they help us bring this show to you for free.
Injured in an accident and unsure if you have a case? Don't wonder or go it alone. Visit fortheinjured.com for a free case review. I'm Bob Gordon of Gordon Partners, and we understand the confusion, stress, and questions that come with an injury. For over 30 years, we've proudly and successfully been representing injured clients. Don't let doubt hold you back. Visit fortheinjured.com or call 561-333-3333. Gordon Partners, fortheinjured.com. Main offices, Palm Beach Gardens.
We are audiostack.ai
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad. How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
Go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.